Adding sound. So I have a green rectangle which does the following animation. If I click on it and press enter, you can see that for 50 frames, for the first half of those anyway, the first 19 or so, it stays still, and then it rotates around to the right to finish in this position for the last 30 frames. So for that 1.5 seconds or whatever that might be, I want a background track to play, and when we get to frame 20, I want a sound effect to play when the rectangle starts to turn. So the way to get music or sound into your or animation or animate, I should say, if we go down to import on the file menu, click on import to library, and and let me just scroll across to show you, I've got an MP3 file here, which is my boost sound effect, and I've also got an MP3 there, which is my countryside ambience. That's going to be my background. Now, you might have the same problem as I have. Hopefully, by the time you watch this video, this might be fixed and you don't even get this error message. But this is saying to me that it couldn't import it in, which is completely unreasonable because Animate has always done this in the past. So if you have the same error message as I have, you will need to open up Audacity, click on File and Open to find your track. So I'm going to look for and you might have seen I've already done my boost, that's why I got through there. I'm opening up my countryside ambience, which loads it up here, and you don't have to do any editing at all. You just do File, Export Audio, and change it so it is WAV, because normally it's an MP3 there. So when you click on WAV and you press Export, it takes a couple of seconds sometimes, depending on how long it is. But on my desktop now, I should have two, because I've done this already with the Boosh file. I should have two WAV files ready to come in. So let's try that instead. So if I go to File and Import again this time, and import to Library, I should have my WAV file for Boosh, which is the second one down, and it should also be the same for my countryside ambience, which again, look, is my WAV file there. When I press open, no issues this time, and they come in. So for every sound effect or sound file, I would suggest you add a new layer, and I'm going to call that BGD for my background music. And my background, the background track, which is my countryside ambience. I'm just going to literally drag and drop it onto the scene. Now, nothing appeared on the scene, but you will see this orange line appearing to indicate that when I press play, there will be this countryside ambience music playing for the entirety of the video. And that obviously stops at that point. But if my kind of like animation carried on and carried on, that would also carry on for the duration of however long I want it to be. Now, sound effect wise, I wanted a sound effect to happen at frame 20 when this rectangle started to turn. So again, on a new layer, and I'm going to call it Boosh because that's the sound effect. Quite easily, I just simply add a blank frame to that point, and I drag the Boosh onto the screen here, and the Boosh sound effect should start at that point there, and you can see but it also ends there at this stage. So if I rewind it back to the beginning and press play, sound effects happens when I expect it to happen. So that's basically how you add sound. Now you might find, and again, this might be a problem you don't come across, because hopefully Adobe will fix this. But when you export your work, so when you go to File, Export, and Video Media, so it basically exported as an MP4 file. Some of those sound effects don't actually come up, or the one which starts very on frame number one doesn't. So if yours is the case of like, so for example, if I exported this and I only heard the boost sound effect, but not the background, I just simply need to move that across onto the second frame. For some reason, it doesn't like the first frame. And when I export file, export video, it shouldn't be an issue at that point.